It reminds me when we first married, we spent our honeymoon, no, our first night of marriage at the Peninsula Hotel, fancy hotel. Bonnie always saw that hotel and thought we'll get married there, and so we used to go back every year for our anniversary, not to stay there, just to go and have tea or like afternoon tea. And one anniversary, there was a guy who came from the bathrooms, and he was this big, loud, flamboyant guy, and he said, "Champagne!" And everybody, it's so posh and so conservative, and he made a big spectacle. It was hilarious. Everyone burst out into laughing. So every time someone claps, like, I think of that guy.
It is, yeah. I don't have that exact connection, which is a very funny connection to have with it. For me, it's more like some posh person clapping twice for the light to turn on or off.
Yeah.
For me, is that.
And for the curtain to open in their big panoramic bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. So every year you still go to the Peninsula and have like a something, breakfast or tea or something.
We don't. Bonnie loved it. I hate hotels. I feel like they're prisons. So the more expensive the hotel, the more expensive I think the prison is. I just, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because my dad was cheap, or I've just got something wrong in my brain. But I hate it.
I mean, this is like the anti being frugal.
Yeah, exactly. So when we first got married, Bonnie called all of the shots. And so we went to the hotel, and we certainly couldn't afford the Peninsula. It's expensive, like $5,000 a night for like the basic room. So we would substitute the room for afternoon tea, which was still expensive. But after about 5 years of marriage, I was like, I got a backbone. I was like, Bonnie, we're not doing this. I hate this. And so when we got 10 years married, our 10-year anniversary, I took Bonnie on a surprise, and we went back to exactly the same hotel room that we stayed in when we first got married, and Sammy had just been born, so it was a big thing. We got the limo there, the limo back, the big thing.
Wow.
So I went against my own nature, but she loved it. She just thought it was amazing.
No, but I mean, the ideal is then when you meet in the middle, like you're both enjoying something.
That's
but
not
like,
the ideal. The ideal is that I meet where I'm at. No, you are right. You are right. So we haven't been back since. That was a couple of years ago. But maybe for the 20 years, Bonnie will surprise me with the hotel trip.
For her enjoyment. What would you enjoy? How would you enjoy spending the day? Like what would be like an extra nice day for you to spend a special day?
Sleeping late, wake up, have breakfast, chill at home. That's just stay at home. Because I think so many people get romantic about being somewhere else that they forget about the place that they're at. They don't make the place that they're at beautiful. They don't invest into where you spend most of your time. And so they're always yearning for being somewhere else. So I am trying, and we haven't done this successfully, but I'm trying to enjoy what we do every day and where we are every day more than some exotic location out there that you get to once a year, twice a year.
Right.
So I think that's much more powerful.
No, definitely. And yeah, I agree. I'm trying to do the same. Just like, for instance, in terms of relationship, instead of having like some 1 or 2 grand gestures over the year, I try to just do something every day. Like it can be small thing. It can be like, bringing Helga a glass of juice, or it can be this, that, or the other. Just like we're in this relationship and it's special every day instead of just like twice a year or whatever.
Brilliant. I think because different people have different temperaments. Bonnie's very idealistic and very romantic, and so she loves all of that sort of stuff, and I hate it. I hate it so much. But so we've had difficulty in that specific area, but then she over time has started to see what I think is valuable, and then when I do something for her in that realm, she goes, okay, I recognize that. But I love the fact that it's an everyday thing, like what you're saying, as opposed to once a year or twice a year.
I just feel manipulated by like the conglomerate companies. Like when there's a Valentine's Day, it's just like, now you should buy overly priced wand of flowers or this gift that we've been pushing in your face for the past 3 weeks.
That's exactly right.
Just be nice on your own time. That's what I feel.
Exactly. They've monetized the romantic. I bought Bunny 12 roses and chocolates and teddy bears and all the rest when we were going out for 1 year before we got married. That first Valentine's, I did the whole thing. Never done one thing since. I bought her a card, chocolates, nothing. And she gets angry, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Let me do something nice for you some other time. I hate it. That's exactly right. You feel manipulated.
It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you still have that pressure from your significant other to have something special happening. But yeah, but at least me and Helga agree on that. It's fine. It's not a issue for us not to celebrate Valentine's, because also it's a little bit of an American tradition, isn't it?
I have no idea. I thought it was British, but I genuinely don't know. It's very Western.
It's super like consumer driven, right? It's like marketing heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another excuse to sell some more product. I don't like it at all. Would you consider yourself a romantic person?
I'm more idealistic than I am romantic, I would say.
And Helga?
I think so too. Like we're very similar in that way. She's not like overly romantic, but like she's idealistic.
So if you were going to do something nice for her and you were going to do the grand gesture, what sort of thing would she appreciate?
So this year she turned 40. So I gave her like I haven't given her a lot of like jewelry. It has been more like, I've given her like maybe like an Instax camera and all kinds of practical stuff she's loved. She's been using that. But this year I gave her like a really nice piece of necklace, and she was super happy about it. And I had made like she's really into Minecraft, and I had a cake made with her avatar. So it was recognizably, she has a custom skin. It was her avatar on a Minecraft cake.
Wow.
And she was very, very happy about that. But that was a special occasion because it's a big birthday.
Right. So that was the combination of your romanticism, your geekness, your own special thing.
Just making her happy. Like genuinely, I think everyone likes to be surprised every now and again.
Brilliant.
And that was just the main goal. It was not to do it so I looked good in front of everyone in a social media post. It was just like, what would genuinely make her happy? And I think I did well this year.
That's awesome, man. I really like that. Do you cook?
I can cook, but I don't do it very often.
Okay.
I just think it's fine when it's just for the two of us, but like sometimes when you're lazy at the end of the day, and like going out and buying dinner takeout is sometimes cheaper than cooking your own food.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about you? Do you guys cook?
Bunny does most of the cooking, and she's pretty good at it. I hate cooking as a routine, but I love cooking when it's creative, when you're trying something different and something new, and you're experimenting. I love it.
Helga's a lot like that, but it's a hard time for her to follow recipes for the same reason.
Yeah. And that means like if you've got a good meal that you both enjoy, I'll cook it once and then I'm done. Or I'll cook it until I get it right, and then I don't want to touch it again. So in terms of the romantic, that's where I find my expression is when I can get creative or do something different or impromptu, just do something out of the ordinary. So I'm not a romantic person at all, but I'll find those sort of expressions in that arena.
What is your most impressive meal, you think? If you were to like make a really nice home meal, what would that be? What's your like?
Are we talking about for other people or for us?
For you, for you guys, for
us.
The home, yeah.
Honestly, I love all food. I love breakfast. So if I was going to cook like a good meal, it would be bacon, eggs, and all of the trimmings, all of the stuff that goes with it. And it takes me like 15 minutes to do scrambled eggs because you cook it slowly and you try and get the bacon just right, and you get beautiful sausage. That's the meal. But if we were doing it for others, you wouldn't invite people for breakfast generally. So it'd be something like a lasagna or barbecue. Barbecue's big.
Oh, barbecue is always amazing, right?
I love it. Have you ever done sous vide?
I have friends that do it like regularly, and it is absolutely spectacular when you nail that.
Yeah.
Also, just like doing the finishing touches on the grill, just getting the markings and just like the little char, and on the inside is just perfect. I want to get into it. Do you do that?
Yeah, we've done it for quite a few years. And you could sous vide literally anything that can be cooked, you can sous vide. But for steak, it's just a no-brainer. It's very, very hard to mess up. And then, as you say, when you finish it on the grill or the barbecue or whatever, you can get beautiful flavor. It's so easy. We love it. But one of the things we've done in sous vide is 72-hour barbecue pork ribs.
72 hours.
You cook them for 3 days, and they literally you just pull the bone out of the meat. It's delicious.
Oh my goodness. Do you finish it off on the grill then? Or
we've done it different ways. The easiest way for us is you put it in a bucket in the water, you cook it for 3 days, and then you put it in the oven. And just at the highest heat you can get it, just to get a bit of crisp and a bit of the that sugar caramelizes on the outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you cook often at home or how?
We'll do that 3 times a year maybe.
Okay.
But I will cook. I've got to be honest now. Bonnie might watch this. I cook maybe once or twice a month.
Okay.
But it'll almost never be generic. It'll always I'm trying to be creative. So our family cooks a lot. We all love food. We're all big and fat, and we will sometimes do like a family cook-off. A couple of years ago, we did lasagna. Everyone bought their own lasagna. We tried every type, and
Who won?
thought,
who was the winner?
I think it was my mum. I mean, probably my mum, maybe my brother. I can't remember. They were all amazing. Genuinely, they were really good because we were all putting our best foot forward. But I thought everyone's doing lasagna. This is my crazy self. Everyone's doing lasagna. I don't want to just do lasagna, but it's a lasagna competition. So I made lasagna dumplings. So I did the Chinese, Italian crossover.
Interesting.
And so I did mini dumplings, which was fun.
Did it come out well?
It was pretty good. It's not the same as real lasagna, but it was creative. I thought if a chef took hold of that idea and did lasagna in Hong Kong as like a dim sum thing, it would be very, very cool.
I mean, I think it's really interesting because like a good lasagna is like it's soul food. It's just like it's really good when you get a good lasagna.
Yeah.
And
so
to mix those two things.
little bite-sized it was delicious. It was really good.
Good idea.
But in terms of like pure flavor, there were better lasagnas on the day. And we played with smash burgers a couple months ago. I don't know if you've ever had smash burgers.
I know what it is, but I haven't done those myself.
Man, if I was younger and opened up a restaurant, I'd open up a smash burger restaurant. It's just like beef. You get really good beef, salt and pepper, and then you smash the mince down in the pan, piping hot, and it gets a crisp, cooks really, really quickly, and that is golden. It's very hard to beat that.
I enjoy when there's like a little irregular outside of the burger, and like some parts are like extra crispy.
Yep.
A good one of those is amazing.
A smash burger is basically all of that. It's just all crispy because it's quite thin and it's all spread. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I think there was like a YouTube show or something that I watched that like especially focused on burgers, and I saw like a few different. That's why I know what it is, a smash burger.
Okay.
So do you have like, I saw one guy had like a tomato can, like that he like smashed the burgers with.
Oh,
like because it's like big and white. But how do you do it? How do you smash them?
The way I ended up doing it is you put a little bit of greaseproof paper in a square, and I pushed it down. I think I had like a metal cup, and that was sort of like a rounded bottom, and I pushed it down with that. But if we were doing it properly, it would be by the proper spatulas and all of that. But we're just hacking it together in the kitchen. But it's fun. It's like we did that maybe 5 or 6 times, and now I'm bored of it. But it was really fun to learn the process, get things wrong, break things, figure out the flavors we like and don't like. But now that we've done it, it's like, okay, I'm bored now. Let's do something else.
Is there like a staple food that you guys eat more than other food that's kind of like the standard?
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
Genuinely. Like Friday's our day off. And so the big meal on Friday, because I'm eating 1 meal a day, big meal on Friday is like a 4 p.m. breakfast. And sausages, bacon, eggs. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's the staple. Other than that, steak. So, and you guys?
I think like our standard is probably not cooking. Sorry to
That's good.
disappoint. It's there's like this place called Soigma just by the pier.
Yes.
It's pretty like homey. Like it's kind of just like standard like grilled chicken, some rice, some salad, some potato chips. No, I think that's maybe what we eat the most.
I've eaten a lot of that. I love it. They're
Oh
halloumi
yeah, yes.
is delicious.
So cheesy. Like I love that very much.
Yeah.
Helga never finishes hers, so I also
It's
always
still
get to eat a little bit.
No, I like food. I really, really like food. So that's part of this challenge that I think we spoke about it last time.
Yeah.
We just started.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to lose weight, and I can feel that. We were talking about the other day, the keto flu. I can feel a little bit of that, and then I can feel that energy loss, where your body switches over from eating all the carbs and sugar to starting to eat fat, and you sort of go through a little dip. And I've been in and out of that because I haven't quite cheated, but I've eaten some stuff that's not perfectly ketogenic, and so you then lose that state.
Right.
But in the last week and a half, I felt that state kicking back in.
Okay, so you've been like going strong in that state for a week and a half, you said.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to like, stick to the program and eat the food that you should eat to keep yourself in that state? Or
If I'm at work,
yeah,
I don't think about it. It's not a factor. But if I'm at home, my habit is just to go to the fridge and see what's in there.
right.
So it's very, very tough at home. So in the week, I could honestly, like on Monday, we were here till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a glass of water till 8 at night or something. I just didn't think about it. So it was really dead easy. And then by the time I got home, I did eat, but I wasn't actually hungry because I wasn't thinking about it. But if I'm at home, that's all I'm thinking about. So it's better to be occupied.
I mean, definitely. I think I make my worst food decisions when I'm not busy. And I forget to eat when I'm really busy. So I definitely, I'm the same, for sure. By the way, thank you so much for putting in so much time on Monday to help out with this. I mean, yeah, the backdrop it's staying there. It's not dropping down. That's my worry. Coming down to the shoot on Tuesday morning, like, oh, it didn't work out on the floor.
I'm really happy the way it's turned out. It's the room just feels cleaner. It feels better. It feels when things are organized, it just feels like you can do more.
It does.
Yeah. So no, I'm really thankful to you to putting all that time in. You were here for hours. You were erecting shelves and doing all sorts. So it was good. It was really fun.
It was, and I really feel like the space is like really coming in its own. I'm driven to use it and get some stuff happening here now.
That's good. That's good. Jade and I filmed on Monday morning, as you know. We filmed a house, and it was horrific. It was really, really terrible, the whole experience. Jaden did amazingly to recover some of the footage, but I really struggled. And part of the struggle was the house wasn't clean. There was boxes and things around, and it just felt cluttered. And we thought we only had a 2-hour window, which we had to negotiate for because it was supposed to be 1 hour. And so we thought, let's go through and just clean it up and make it look nice. And we just didn't have the time. And I really realized in that moment how clutter and mess can affect creativity. Right. So the whole thing just felt disjointed and out of whack. And if we were doing it properly, we probably would have cleaned for like 4 hours and then put some stuff in place and cleaned up the bathrooms and that sort of thing. Move things out of, like storage stuff out of rooms so we could film properly.
It's difficult to build up that momentum of feeling like, you're getting good stuff done when there's always some issue or things aren't optimal. I 100% know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and then also you've got that momentum to solve other issues that crop up. But if it's cluttered and messy, your focus just breaks apart.
Yeah.
So having this place clean and just organized and ready to go is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Next time you decide to do a house, please let me know. You should have my 20 millimeter to work with. Did you have the 24 last time?
Yes. Yeah, I think I broke the gimbal because I had the bigger lens on it.
You think you broke it, really?
It was struggling and it overheated, so it might be fine. I haven't gone back and tested it,
Okay.
but I just took it off. So that was another element of why it felt terrible for me, is that I thought I'm going to get these beautiful gimbal shots and I'm going to play around, and 5-10 minutes after using the gimbal, it was malfunctioning. So I'm very grateful that we learnt and we attempted it, and I'm also grateful that we failed. But Jaden put something together. He edited, gave it to the estate agent, and she was happy. She was like, "This great." The sound was bad. It was too windy. I had a lapel mic that I didn't have a battery for, and so he had to work hard to just get something usable for sound. And so many things that went wrong, and she was happy at the end of the day. Like, what's going on
That
with
means that next time you do something, she's going to be amazed, because you can only improve from here.
Really, an iPhone, I think, would have been better.
No, I'm sure you're not right.
Jaden had some good shots that he had on the tripod. All my shots were terrible. I don't think he used one of my shots. So, but he was grateful because he learnt and he experimented. And so, for me, the biggest fulfillment is when the team wins. I don't need to win. So even though I genuinely hated it, I mean, you saw me straight afterwards. I was really, really irritated with myself. But the fact that Jaden was able to get something out of it, and he grew and challenged and he did something, was a huge win. Even though personally it was a huge loss.
But overall, it's a good thing. You decided to do it and you arranged for it to happen. You did it and you came home with something, and the response was good. Even though it felt a little bit bad in the process, it was a success.
Yes. And I'm always telling young people, anytime I engage young people, I'm like, get out there, try, fail. And then I did it and I hated it. So I can see why people react negatively when I say, get out there, do things, fail. Because it's not a nice feeling.
It feels terrible.
But I 100% agree. It's good to be in that learning zone. It's just that initial learning environment is terrible because you don't know how to do the basic thing.
Yeah.
And if you've got any cognitive ability, if you've got any reference on YouTube or what other people are able to produce, the contrast is so huge that you know it's terrible in the moment. And it's a hard thing to overcome.
I think this is a byproduct of social media. I think, like, for instance, if you think back to when you were a young developing teenager or even younger than that, you didn't really see how high the bar was for living standards or what to do. I mean, now everything is in your face constantly. I mean, I didn't even know what a Lamborghini was when I was 12.
Wow.
But I mean, now every 12-year-old knows what a Lamborghini is, right?
Right.
So I think that's not necessarily a good thing. And that, like, comparing yourself to others, there's a great quote that I really wish that I had right now. Like, it's something to do with, like, to compare yourself is a robber of joy. It robs you of your joy.
Brilliant.
I don't know what, there is a quote. We'll have to.
We believe you.
Yeah.
We'll fact check it.
Yes. But I think there's really something to that, and I think social media is not having a good effect on that.
When we grew up in a nothing town, half a horse town, the middle of nowhere. And so you're right, I didn't grow up conscious of any of that sort of stuff. And then when we went to the UK, we went from South Africa, a small little place, to the UK, which the school was huge. And even though we were in a little town, it was so much bigger than where we were from. And I remember the effect on those kids, 15, 16 years old, where so many were depressed, so many were suicidal, big issues, trying to mask it with drugs and alcohol. And the things that were going on were so shocking to me. And because I was so green and fresh, I wasn't under the influence of what they were under for their whole lives. So the contrast was so huge. People were so conditioned, and I was so unconditioned, that they tried to bully me for a few things that I wasn't even aware of. And because I didn't know the thing they were trying to bully me for, and I didn't even know what bullying was really, it didn't affect me at all. I just sort of glided through. They used to call me Shiny Shoon Sean. Shiny shoes, Sean. Because I had shiny shoes. I was brought up respectful. If you're going to dress well, you know. I don't dress well anymore, but and their influence was you scuff your shoes up. The second you get your brand new shoes, you scuff them up and you make sure they're dirty. And so every morning I would polish my shoes because that's what my grandfather did and that's what my father did. And they tried to bully me for it. And I had no idea.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that protected you because kids can be mean.
Very, but I didn't even know that they were trying to be mean. I just thought they were commenting that the fact that I had shiny shoes. Obviously, after 6 months or 8 months, I realized what was going on and got a bit more savvy. But I remember looking at kids having no understanding of why they were suffering. It was because of these that's not even social media. That's just their environment affecting them.
Yeah.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It's easier to put someone down to bring your stock up rather than do something special or interesting, because you're taking a chance. If you're trying to do something different or you're trying to perform or trying to be good at something, you're taking a little bit of a risk or a chance because it might not work out. So it's easier and safer just to put someone else down around you.
Yeah.
It's a really juvenile, easy way to boost your own ego.
Have you ever done that in your life where you've opted to push someone else down?
Sadly, yes. When I felt hurt myself or I felt slighted myself, I attacked viciously, and I really feel bad about that right now.
And is it something that after the fact then you then become conscious of and decide you're not going to do, or how do you process that?
No, I just realized that what I did was horribly wrong, and I should really never ever do anything like that ever again.
You really are a terrible person. I've never done anything like that in my life. I can't believe it.
Thank you, Sean. That makes me feel even worse. I didn't think that was possible.
I just did exactly to you what we're talking about. I find sometimes I go back to certain events in my life where what's worse is when you think you're right.
How so?
When an interaction happens and in your own mind, you feel like you were the correct party in the altercation. And then sometimes my perspective will change, and years later I'll go back to that event in my mind and go, no, actually that person was right. I was the idiot. I was wrong. And now if I went back, I would side with my opponent. And sometimes that's scarier than just being insecure or feeling like you got to get back or push someone down, because you don't even know that you're doing it.
Right.
There's a proverb I like that says, something very, very powerful. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it leads to death. And that has impacted me a lot lately, where I've thought people can feel correct in pushing someone down or accusing someone or fighting someone or canceling someone. They can actually feel like it's a moral virtue to go after someone. How dare they have a platform? Or how dare they say this? Or they shouldn't have this privilege or this thing. And then they try and accuse and bring them down and get others to accuse them using the power of social media. But that's actually, in the end, it leads to death. Not just for them, but then for society around them. And it's a really broken mentality when you would prefer to push someone down than build something that's of value.
Right. I think also maybe it's at least what it feels like from the outside in entertainment. There's the cake is a certain size, and you just can't get your piece in. So how do you do that? You try to cancel someone that has a piece, and then you make some space. And also people are drawn to drama. People are drawn to these kind of, you see in YouTube comments and everywhere, people just love to stir up stuff.
Yep. And
I think it's a terrible but effective way to push yourself to the surface.
But the thing that worries me about that, because I think in any environment that has some competitive nature to it, people are consciously going after a bigger slice. And they know it. The issue becomes, I think, when you think that it's a moral virtue, when you think you're doing a good thing, I'm going to take EG out. I am benefiting from it, of course, because I get the immediate attention. But you actually think it's a moral thing. And that's very, very bad for that person who's pursuing that, but it's bad for society. And of course, the obvious instant victim is the person who's been taken out. Which is why I so appreciate how Joe Rogan has managed to, number one, just make a new pie. He hasn't tried to fight over an old pie. He just made a new pie. And then when they try and cancel him for things that he admits are wrong, he just keeps on trucking.
Right. It doesn't face him. It doesn't touch him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't let it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think going back to being under the influence of society or accusations or other people trying to push you down, it's really, really hard to just keep on going when you have the same value that other people have and you have a value for their opinion. Really, really tough.
It is.
Really tough. So, yeah, we were always brought up to not allow what affects others to affect us in the same way. Recognize it, understand it, but don't be caught up by it, because it's a terrible master to be subject to what everyone is subject to. There's got to be a degree of freedom that, like me, it manifests in the terms of fashion and jewelry and possessions. I don't care. Like, I've just decided I do not care whether you got a nice watch or a nice car. Great, enjoy it. I just don't care.
Right.
So I'm not subject to that. So the latest car that comes out, I'm like, yeah, sure, great, enjoy it. And I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So I think if people have that opinion, if they have that idea about other people's opinions, they can be in a very powerful position.
Most definitely. And I think it's also like a great journey through life. You're not needing to constantly consume or get the newest thing or whatever. You don't need that like endorphin hit of buying something new. You're not like, stuck on the hamster wheel of consumerism.
That's right.
But everything around you, like YouTube, that's a massive thing. Like, everyone has affiliate links. Everyone's trying to promote something. They got sponsorships or dealers. It's tough to avoid that. So how do you do that? Have you always been like this? Is this kind of just like something that your family has as an outgoing point, or have you had parts of your life where you did consume?
I think because we grew up in we weren't poor, but we didn't grow up in a very flashy environment. I mean, it's Africa, so it's not like this. Everyone's just flush with cash. So it just never became, at least in my developing years, it never became something we lived in or pursued. It wasn't like we weren't conscious of anybody else who had money, but it was just a straightforward. I'm pretty sure you would have had the same sort of upbringing where it was just plain. It was just everyone was normal. There was no huge disparity between the super rich guy and the super poor guy. We were all pretty much in the same boat. And so I think we just naturally developed that way. And so by the time I got to 15, 16 in the UK, I just didn't value that stuff. It just was never built into me. So it's not something we had to work on. It's just something that was.
That's great.
But I think where I have sometimes fell into that trap is things like technical gear, cameras and that sort of stuff. Because I am interested in it, sometimes I have fallen into that trap. And almost definitely overspent what my skill level is. I've gone way beyond what I should have. So it's not like I'm better than anyone else. It's just I haven't cared about what most people care about. But in this area, I probably have.
Yeah, but maybe new gear can give you opportunities or options or methods that you didn't have before.
100%.
So it's not like pure, like, you're not getting that thing just for, like, it has utility.
I agree. And that's how I convince myself to buy more expensive stuff that I don't know how to use. Like yourself, you've got some really nice stuff, but you use it and it's a business investment
but I'm trying to temper that down a little bit because I realize that's like, it's not something that I should like be focusing on. I should be focusing on using the equipment. I kind of lean into it like, as a stress response. So when I'm going into a stressful situation or like a project that like, there's like a lot of unknowns and uncertainties, I feel confident in that I have all the gear and all the things with me that I need. So there's nothing holding me back. Like, I feel like, if a camera breaks down, I don't need to worry about that. I have a contingency. I have a backup camera. If something like happens, I can cope, and I have methods and ways of dealing with it. So for me, it has been like, it helps me just focus on the task at hand. But I think it can also like, go over the line a little bit, where I'm also trying to now just make do with what I have instead of constantly be looking for that next thing or some other thing to unlock new abilities, to try to just like, you have a bunch of stuff. How about just focusing on, instead of what might be there for you, in the next generation or something that you don't have, focus on using what you have now. Because that you can do so much stuff with relatively basic gear if you just use it the right way. You just have to leverage your position. And I'm really trying to just be a little bit more active. And I think this space will most definitely help with that. And I'm very, very thankful to being able to operate here from that. I'm going to try to do like a interview here soon.
Great.
I have like a friend who's an artist. He did an exhibition in late May in Hong Kong Exhibition Center, and he mixes digital with traditional painting. So he had this amazing installation where he had like these screens oriented in a flower, and people can walk in the installation, and when you stand in front of the screen, it will react. There will be like, maybe some movement, or like a flower will open when you stand in front of it. So it's like a very interesting interactive exhibition that he had with it. I'm gonna have him soon.
So he puts up paintings, but they digitized, like.
So he created kind of almost like a little bit of a space or universe where he had like different angles and parts of that displayed on a screen.
Okay.
And it was displayed like very beautifully. It was like almost looked like a flower.
Wow.
And people could walk in front of it, and there was a sensor that sensed if you're in front of it, so there would be a reaction. It's a beautiful thing on its own, but then it like changes if someone is standing in front of it or not. It also changes through time, like during certain parts of the day, like the installation would change and the light would change. It's very, very interesting. He makes beautiful, beautiful work.
That is so creative to try and. I could never come up with an idea like that.
No, me neither.
That's so creative.
I'm also very much looking forward to hearing like how he conceptualized it, because you don't come to this like as on a whim, just like in a few days. This is like at the end of some long development. I'm very interested to and this is so like far outside what normal people do. Like, I'm sure there's like a bunch of things that are to him just like very basic, will be fascinating to me and other people.
What's his name?
Desmond Leung.
I'd love to watch that. That'll be I don't know how people come up with their creativity and are able to produce it, and where does that idea come from? Where's the spark? It's so out there. I can barely draw stick figures, so I'm fascinated by it. We have been watching a guy called Harry Mack.
Who is he?
Harry Mack just pops up on my YouTube feed. He does impromptu rap. So I don't listen to a lot of music. I certainly don't listen to a lot of rap music, but it came up on my feed and it's like, let's see this guy. And he'll go into Omegle, which is that platform where you can speak to different people and it cycles through. And they can quit your conversation, just go to the next person. So you have to be entertaining or funny or, get people's attention. And so he'll ask them for 3 words. And they'll say random things. It's just completely random off the top of their head. And then he'll make up a rap in the moment about the 3 words that they've given him.
Wow.
And not only will he rap supercalifragilisticexpialidocious into some lyric, and then the next 2 words that they give him, but he'll also rap about what they're doing. So if the kid goes, "Oh no," he'll rap about, and the kid in the red shirt put his hands up on his head, but it's good.
Wow.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So he'll rap for 2-3 minutes, all impromptu. At least it seems like. And he'll just do this over and over again. So Bonnie and I were watching, I was showing Bonnie last night. I was like, look at this. How did he come up with this? How did he get there? Where did that come from? And so we were pausing the video trying to guess. Like the next word is fork. How's he going to get to fork? And we never got it right. But we would take 2 minutes to do something he does in 2 seconds. But it just amazes me how people can create so uniquely. You got one guy who can do paintings and installations and digital stuff, and one guy can come up with words in weird random ways, and
just
somebody
instantly
in the moment.
Wow.
In the moment.
Harry Mack, I'm going to remember that. And I mean, yeah. So this is kind of like the modern version of rap battle.
It is, yeah. Except it's not a battle. It's just a show to the person watching him.
But it sounds like when you did rap battles, like rappers would go at each other, right?
Yes.
He's kind of just like doing that like in solidarity, but like I can imagine spectacular reactions from people, because if he's really skillful and good at what he's doing, which he sounds like he is, he's going to get some amazing reactions from people. It's amazing content creation from him, and I think people love reaction videos. Like reaction videos are a thing for a reason.
Yeah.
And he's just like manufacturing those and showing off his skill set at the same time, and probably doing like so much training on his craft.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He's leveraging the fact that those people he's on Omegle with are going to become subscribers. So he's growing it one by one, but then he's filming a YouTube video which is getting some of the millions of views, and then he's improving his craft. Exactly right. And I went back because I saw some of I love to go to comments and see what people are saying, and some of the comments were, "Amazing, man, you've improved so much." So I was like, let me go and look at his first few videos. And even me, who knows nothing about rap and knows very little about music, could see an improvement over the years of how well he's doing. So I don't know why he's not more than just a YouTuber. Not that it's just a YouTuber, but he should be. I'm sure he must be doing live stuff. It's phenomenal. It's so amazing. I can't comprehend how to get to that point. And creatively in the moment. Because if you could have a team of writers sit there and write out lyrics and build connections and funny wordplay, sure. But in the moment to do that, amazing.
And I mean, the speed and fluidity that you need to have to do a rap. I mean, he must have some like crazy amounts of raps, and he must have done this ridiculous amounts of time.
And then he goes double time and then half time, and he sings hooks sometimes. I'm so impressed. As someone who doesn't care about that sort of stuff, I'm incredibly impressed.
He sounds like he also has found like a process that simultaneously potentially gives him a livelihood and makes him better at what he's doing. And it's probably also very enjoyable in the moment doing it, because to see a reaction immediately from people, it's a very tangible thing to get like feedback on what you're doing straight away in the moment. So he looks like he just found like a really, really beautiful notch in life for him to stay at.
I think you're right, except when you're starting out, no one's watching. No one cares. So he must have gone through some system or process where he wasn't getting much feedback, and he probably wasn't very good when he started, at least in relation to where he is now. But now all the fruit of his labor is coming through. But I'm just impressed that someone can number one think that that's possible, and then go through the hardship of learning and being the noob and not understanding and not getting positive feedback to then processing through. So all credit to him, man. It's amazing. Harry Mack. Highly recommend it.
I'll definitely check that.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of people get to like a degree of expertise, like him, and then they kind of find themselves trapped in that success. Like, do you think he might get sick of what he's doing at some point, and then just like his success just keeps him doing it because he couldn't do anything else for money that touches that thing because he's so specially trained in doing exactly that? I wonder if that's a thing.
I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, where YouTubers get into that trap.
I've seen that too.
They get the grind, they love climbing the mountain, then they get to the top of the mountain because they get all the big sponsorships and the views, and then they self-sabotage, or they do a video where like, I'm burnt out and I'm going away for 3 years. I think it's very common. But I don't know if that's YouTube specific or industry specific. I don't know. I know it happens with bands actually.
Right.
They have a breakthrough album. The second album's usually pretty bad, and then their third album's an album about how bad the second album was and how bad their fame is. Yeah, sometimes success is the thing that can hurt you, I suppose. I've never been so successful that it could hurt me. I don't know about yourself.
No, I mean, you're making a living. You're doing well. That's
yeah,
success.
it's not hurting me.
No.
Yeah, I watched an interview with someone who was talking about Elon Musk, and I don't know everything about Elon Musk, and I don't follow everything, but I do like some of the things he's done. But they were commenting on his mindset, and they were saying one of the things that's helped him to be successful is that he's always got different things going on, and he leverages the different businesses and different ideas. He doesn't just have one business that he's fully focused on. He's thinking about other elements, and then the confluence of those and the crossover of those can benefit different projects. And this person was talking about even back in the days when he first started, and I think he did PayPal, even then he had multiple projects that he was looking into. And I thought that was interesting because in some way that can negate the curse of success, because you might be successful in this direction, but in this other project, you could be failing.
Right. Why would you be taking away 4 hours or 3 hours or whatever of the day doing this unsuccessful thing while you can lean everything into what you're doing well?
Yeah. So I think for me personally, not that by any means am I successful in any direction, but I've tried to implement something of playing in different directions so that if I ever get bored on one thing, I use those resources and creativity in another direction.
That's smart. You don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
You've got a couple.
Yeah. And through COVID, that's helped us. Having multiple streams has helped us get through an unforeseen, unpredictable event.
Do you feel like you've been able to draw some parallels between like these different ventures that you've been trying out? Have you learned something there that you could have applied to that field that you're most successful in?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Jordan Peterson talks about the hierarchy, and these different hierarchies can complement each other. And so lessons learned here can translate to lessons learned there. And so if you learn how to greet someone and shake their hand, look them in the eye, and have a positive conversation where they feel safe and secure because you're open and honest, and you might learn that from school, that can be translated to a relationship, like a personal, a romantic relationship. It can be translated to your second business that you start. It doesn't just have to stick to that one particular thing. So 100%. And then there's always an economies of scale that comes with some of that. There's some negative things that come too. But with this whole place can exist because we've got multiple businesses. We certainly wouldn't be able to have a playroom like this if we didn't have other things going on that funded this.
Right.
So 100%. Do you find in your business that having multiple different opportunities and multiple different skill sets has helped you, or do you think it's distracted you?
I think it has like really made me who I am. It has made me highly adaptable, and I think it's a fantastic starting out strategy, at least in what I'm doing.
Mm.
I feel like I've been exposed to so many different things that I'm able to kind of figure out like what I'm intuitively good at and what I intuitively enjoy and what I don't. So I think also it's just like to be able to love a person, you also need to have some people that you don't like. You can't just like blanket like everyone and everything's fine. So I think like having like a skill set in this, I think it's necessary and healthy to do some things that you don't necessarily enjoy. But I think I need to be a little bit better at countering that with stuff that I really enjoy. Like doing more personal projects, doing things that give me fulfillment. They might not give me money, but I enjoy it just for the sake of doing it. And I think a lot of photographers fall into that, doing just the thing for the money, just the commission, and then they don't leave enough room or time or energy for doing something meaningful. And I recognize that in myself. I really want to try to hash out space for more passion-driven stuff, because I think that's like maintaining a relationship with a person. Like, you can't just be focusing on one aspect. It's a ever-evolving, changing thing.
Do you think if you had the ideal set of jobs, gigs come in, the ideal pathway, do you think that would turn from the ideal into a curse over time?
I mean, if you do the same thing long enough, just like, if you eat the same meal long enough, no matter how great it is, it's no longer great if you have too much of it. So I think by fact, I think it's good to have some variety, and I enjoy that, and I try to build that into how I do work.
Are there things that you just will never touch? You'll be like, I'm not going to do that. That I don't enjoy that. Or are you open to?
I'm relatively open to everything, but like there are certain things that maybe, for instance, I'm a very like low-key, calm person. And like, for instance, if someone wanted to hire me for an event photography, like you need like someone that is like highly engaging, like, like energetic, and like that's just not me as a person. So I maybe try not to do that type of stuff.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm open to anything. I've done like so many different things, and I've really been happy to have done that, to have had like the full spectrum.
I've been thinking about that idea for some time now, where some people really over-engineer their life to where they close all the doors and they have one specific pathway that they operate in. And sometimes I'm envious of that, because it looks so good from the outside, because they get just do whatever they want to do. But then sometimes I think some of the greatest privileges I've had in life have been accidental. They haven't been planned and engineered and structured. They've been serendipitous. And I think there's something about just letting nature take its course and seeing where it takes you, as opposed to engineering every little thing.
100% agree. Absolutely. Because sometimes, like the greatest things, it's things that weren't planned.
Yeah.
And I also try to take that with me to work. Like I try to have like a rough idea or a strategy or a skeleton, and then kind of like, I think you also need to leave room for the unexpected, because sometimes that's the greatest gift. That's the most interesting aspect of whatever's happening.
Amen, brother. I agree. I think sometimes the pain that I've caused in my life and the people around me has been almost like an engineering mindset. And scalable has been a curse word for me, because I love the word and I want everything to be able to grow and expand. But sometimes it's hurt because at the expense of the unexpected, I've cut that out because I want to scale. And it's been a dangerous, powerful, but dangerous concept. And I still love it. I'm not even saying that I don't like that idea. I really do like that idea. And building platforms so that things can grow is one of my passions. But I found that it's hurt me in some degrees at some times, because part of scalability is cutting out the unknown.
Right.
And so I'm trying to come back to a balance where things can grow and expand, and you get rid of the hindrances to growth, but to not get rid of the opportunities that you can't plan for, which is tough. It's a tough balance.
So it's is it like, for instance, if you make like a business plan or you have like a theory and it doesn't like fully work out exactly in the direction that you planned, and then you adjust a little bit to it, like what has the struggle been exactly in that regard for you?
When you approaching an event or a product or a project and you need it to be only one way, because if it's not that one way, then your other plans that you've put in place will fail or become difficult. Then someone else might walk into the room, or some other supplier or that person with that particular talent gets cut out of the picture because you need it that one single way, because that's the only way it's going to scale. And I think I've been in that position sometimes where I've gone, no, I can't have that part of the recipe because that's going to mess up my great plan, which is still a gamble. You just think it's not a gamble because you've come up with the idea beforehand. And I've been rolling the dice a lot more. So you go, okay, you coming into the picture, that changes the recipe. Let's try that.
Right.
Which is then difficult for people around me who go, no, but this is the plan. I'm like, well, the plan's changed now. One of my favorite quotes is from Israeli, Ariel Sharon. He was a prime minister at one point, and he was the commander of some of the armies at one point. But he said, a plan is a good basis on which to change your mind. And I think that's powerful because it's not the lack of planning. It's not chaotic. It's not wild, wild west. There is thought and process and strategy. But use that to change your mind, to have a different strategy. And if someone walks in and the weight of the project or product changes, then adapt with it.
Right.
So it's not just you have no shape and no color. You have something, but it's flexible and adaptable.
Right.
So I've seen the areas, and I've experimented with the areas of zero structure and just structure so we can scale. I've seen the areas of both of those. And I'm trying to, in my own life, trying to find that balance, which is a fluid balance. It's not like you hit one number and then that's it. It changes also over time to be flexible, but also have some rough direction.
So naturally you lean a little bit more towards the structure side of this.
My brain does. My heart doesn't. My heart is, I like the wild, wild west. But my brain has been mathematically conditioned, which is good. But if I let my brain take over too much, I become very dry, very sterile. If I just, it sounds like such a cliche, but if I just follow my heart, if I just go, okay, what's my instinct here? What's my senses telling me? What does it smell like? That's the language I use personally. It's much more fluid and flexible.
Right.
So I think it's a great combination if you can understand those drivers for the purposes that they are there for. I think you can use them. But if you get locked into just your heart, which is just an excuse to do whatever,
right,
or just your strategy, which is just an excuse to not be creative and not think,
right,
then you're going to be in trouble in both of those ditches. You need to have some flexibility.
Absolutely, absolutely. If I try to think of it how I've strategized, I've probably been super adaptable, just saying yes to every single opportunity that comes my way, which is a fantastic starting out strategy. But now looking at, like, a few years in, like it's not a great strategy to have always. Because ideally you want to not just do the opportunities or go in the directions that just randomly happen to come your way. With time, you ideally want to have some sort of a influence on which direction you want to go in. Like, what sort of stuff do you want to, what kind of opportunities do you want to cultivate? What kind of projects do you want to go into? At least I'm thinking about it from my side. And I'm trying to switch from that yes to everything gear into being a little bit more directional, because I have been super chaotic and unstructured, and I'm trying to lean a little bit more into that methodical way. I find it very difficult to manage myself as a business. I'm more like just from the, like, whatever feels right, but that's not a good strategy either. You really gave me like a really solid pointers on like how to run my business the other day, just in the way of communicating, and that was very interesting. And I feel like I can really feel how poor of a businessman I am.
Not at all.
No, but it was super useful. Like I really, your perspective was very refreshing and spot on. I really appreciated that.
I think I identified with your position too well, because I've struggled with exactly that same thing, and I think one thing I'm trying to do better is treat others like I would want to be treated, and because I've struggled with that exactly that same concept, and I've been very fortunate, very, very blessed, that people in my life have been able to say the same thing that we talked about to me, that rather than just nod politely, to at least offer an opinion that may or may not be useful, and offer it, not enforce it, because I've struggled with exactly that same thing, and it's really hurt me, and so I'm glad it was beneficial.
Almost
but I was
definitely.
worried afterwards. Internally, I was like, oh no, have I said to EG, hey, you should do this thing, and then what happens if a negative?
I burnt a bridge. Dude, I'm never listening to you again.
Well, that's exactly. I thought, no, I don't want to. I want to be genuine. I want to be helpful, and I'm not just speaking for the sake of speaking, because that's not good. But it was my genuine perspective, because I've suffered with that same thing. But there is a risk. Like, potentially, the other side of that could have been potentially negative. And so, and you obviously intuitively know that already, which is why you're playing with what you should do in that situation. So, but I'm glad it worked out.
No, I definitely did. I'm just, I think also like in anything that you're doing, there's like a certain amount of politics, or there are like, all kinds of games happening.
People, that's people.
Yeah, that's people, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like, I've kind of childishly in the beginning, just my theory was just like, if your work, if your like deliveries are solid, all of that stuff shouldn't matter and doesn't matter. That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. I mean, half of what you're doing is the experience of doing it. How is working with you? How is the experience? How is the interface? How is just the planning of it? How is the like working it out? How is the like that's only half of it. Your delivery is only half of it. So I've really worked on that quite a bit since, but there's always more work to be done, because things are always changing. Like, you're fluid. The market is fluid. All the people around you and culture, there's just so many variables that it's very easy to get lost in that, I find.
That's an interesting perspective, because certainly as a creative, you have to be able to take a direction creatively and ignore other things. So for you to be able to say, no, that other stuff does matter, I'm not going to just do my own thing, is a powerful idea. I think a lot of people because at the end of the day, you have to be able to deliver. You have to have that. But if you don't package that well, you could end up in trouble. So it's not just the product or the delivery, it's also the presentation and the perception of that delivery, which is why branding is effective. Why charge $9.99? Just charge $10. But $9.99 psychologically is it's a given that it works.
Yes.
By the way, we charge round numbers, so I don't like it, so I just do what I want to do. But but it does work. So it's a scary thing to think that just because the receptionist doesn't like you could affect everything, even if your product is the best.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the reality.
It is.
In some ways, it's positive, because it gives you an opportunity to present really well. You could have the same product as someone else, but because you present it well, or you do that other stuff really, really well, you can get in.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I mean, ideally also, like, maybe intuitively or out of the box, you have like strengths in one area and you might be lacking a little bit in the other. So you, like, if the focus is on your strong side, you can always try to make up lost ground on the other side, right?
True. You said a little earlier, the idea of saying yes to everything is a great strategy in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
if someone was 19, 20 years old and they came to you and said, E.G., I'm just starting out. I want to become a photographer, videographer. I want to get into this creative space. What advice would you give them to start out?
Just that, just yes to everything. You never know, like, for instance, if you say yes to like some gig that might not be that engaging, like it might turn into like that person has a job in 7 years' time that then might give you like a great opportunity later on. But if you do that 50 times, then you have like 50 potential things that might turn into something later on. Because it's in the end, it's a lot, I find, about building up trust. And that takes time. So the more you can say yes, you'll build up your skills, but you'll also build up relationships and like different people go into different directions in life. And I think that's the best strategy ever. Just say yes to as much as possible. Just be active. You'll learn things about your craft, and you'll also learn things about yourself. Things that you can't learn in school. You can learn a bunch of stuff in school, but like nothing replaces experience. And you should take every single opportunity possible, particularly in the beginning, to get that, I think. But maybe that is not the best strategy if you can't say yes to everything at a certain point. It's not possible.
What is the defining factor that makes you go from saying yes to everything to now questioning what direction to go to? Is it a period of time? Is it an amount of work? Is it a certain dollar figure? When do you start assessing some no's?
Just time. Like if I just can't, there's a clash in the schedule. I, for instance, found myself doing a lot of work for fashion designers, and I loved it. It was fun, but it didn't pay like super well. It was okay, but like I found my schedule was just like full, and I had to say no to like big opportunities. Wow. Because I had scheduled my time that way that I just filled up. Like 1 month was just like full. I was just working all of the time, and I thought to myself, like, this is not smart, because now you had this big name, big thing come your way, and you just didn't have the opportunity or time. How should I manage that? So at the time I just like upped the prices and then like made a little bit of more time in my schedule, but that can still always happen. You can always, just run out of time. And when that happens, I just try to have other photographers and other people around me and that I can refer to. So if a client or a person comes to me and is seeking a solution to needs help, or they're trying to do project, I try to like find a solution for them if I can't do it myself. I try to give them a good reference so that it's a plus that it didn't turn out to just be a flat no. It turned into like, oh, I found someone else through that. So it makes it a little bit easier for them to approach me again.
That is amazing business advice just in general, but obviously for someone starting out, that is golden. What do you feel about working for free as if you're starting out?
I think that's a great way to get experience. I mean, you can also just get to do things without the stakes being too high. Like it doesn't feel like you're taking a risk. You're not approaching things from a safety perspective. You're not just trying to do the things or tick the boxes. You're trying to do something impressive and cool. And I think like doing things for free is a good mindset to do things in, because you're more free. There are less constraints. There's less weight on the situation. So I think that's a great strategy to starting out. Even sometimes, later on also to do, because maybe you want to do it because you want to develop more projects or things in that direction. And you might think that, oh, this can give me a type of project that I'm trying to seek out, so I can show this to other clients and potentially charge money for that thing.
So just build up your portfolio a little.
Yeah. How about you? How do you see freebies and giving out samples and working for free? How do you see that?
I think if you're, I love the idea that you're bringing forth about the timeline. When you're starting out, you need to say yes to everything. I wholeheartedly agree. One of the biggest irritations I see is young people going, I'm not sure. I'm like, what? How can you not be sure? Say yes. You just do it. Because you can stay up till, you can just not sleep in the evening when you're young. You need to get that experience. You need to get your hands on the ball. You need to play the game. And you need to play in every different position, partly so that you can figure out what you like, and partly so you can figure out what you don't like and what direction you don't want to go. So my suggestion to every young person that I talk to is say yes. Just say yes. Just do it. And also you get over that fear of being uncomfortable. You get over the fear of being in new environments. I was working with a girl. She was doing an internship for a month, a couple of months ago, and she felt uncomfortable about making phone calls. So I was like, no, this is how you make a phone call. I made the first one for her and showed her just a basic, because kids these days, it's all thumbs.
Right.
So you don't phone. You don't even go out with people by phone. You text. So she really hated me for making her make phone calls. I was like, no, you really need to do this. And I think on the last day, or the second last day of the internship, she said, thank you for making me do that. It's not as bad as I thought it was. So I wholeheartedly agree. Say yes to everything. Try everything. I really love the idea that you build up a relationship for the future. I never even thought about that. I'm not a great networker, so that's not my currency. But you're right. It is true. It's exactly true how that works.
I mean, for a lot of the times it might not pan out, but a few occasions it might. You never know. And if you just do it on the terms of, like, it's a mutually benefiting thing, you're learning something from it, and you might get some money or a little money for it. And then later on, like, you never know how things develop. Like, different people end up in different places. Like, I'm sure you had a bunch of people around you in school that are doing like fascinating things today that you didn't even think you didn't expect that from that person. But here, there they are.
One thing I would advise people who are starting sort of business or work or freelancing, this is my personal perspective, I'd like to hear what you think, is don't give discounts. Do it for free or charge. But when you discount your product, you dilute the value of what that is. And then people build up in their mindset, oh, I can get a discount out of so-and-so. I would rather give something away for free than charge less. So often what we'll do when we invoice clients is we'll show them the full price and then put a zero next to it. So because I really hate being trapped in always being at a lower value. I just don't think it's a good thing. So I'm a big believer in do it for free. Do it for free. Hey, usually I'll charge you $1,000, but I'll give it to you for free. Don't give it to them for $500. That's my perspective. I don't know if that's the right perspective, but that's what we've settled on.
No, I mean, I agree. I'm like I said, I'm not a great businessman, but like, I've been told exactly this, what you're saying, and I do that now. So if I'm working with an NGO, I really love working with NGOs because it's meaningful work and they're doing good things. It feels good to work with them. I put the full price,
good,
and then I put like a percentage, whatever discount it is,
yes,
so that they see, like, this is the normal working rate and this is what you're paying.
Yeah, and in that example, I think that's wonderful. I think you should do that. But yeah, a lot of young people, they don't want to try those new things. They've seen too many Instagram posts where you can just arrive, and it's not true. Life is dirty, it's difficult, and you've got to get out there and try and fail a lot, and then hopefully those failures turn into successes over time. But you're never going to get there, and also you don't deserve the opportunity. You should not have the opportunity. You have to work for it. You have to prove that you've got some value, you've got some skill set in some regard. Even if you're a noob in taking photos, you should be polite. You should be offering help. You should be getting the chair and putting the light stand up. You shouldn't just be expecting that you get to click the camera or whatever it is, whatever regard it is. So that's something I think that kids these days struggle with. I sound like an old man, but
no,
it's true.
I fully hear you, because like, there is a certain generation that might have just grown up more privileged
Yeah.
than another. And like that colors your perspective. Like, things have just always been easy and you never really had to struggle. And I mean, you can't really take that perspective into a situation where you have to fight for or work for an opportunity. You just feel like, why am I not getting the opportunity here? Like,
Yeah.
I'm special. Why can't these people see that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a very useful mindset to have.
Yeah.
Hard work, you can't replace that with anything. You have to work for an opportunity and work for things.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And you also like mentioned mentorship. I think in whatever you want to do, that's a very powerful equation to have. So if you want to become a photographer, be close to someone who is. Assist them or just be around it and see what it is. Also just for yourself to see if, okay, this is what this actually is compared to what my idea of this is. And then like you can figure out if you want to pursue this.
Brilliant.
And I'm sure also for you, it's very beneficial to be around people that are doing something that you want to be in. You can learn so much from being around it, right? I feel like I've learned most of my photography from being an assistant or apprentice, like compared to from school. Like I learned a bunch from school, and you get the perspective from your peers, like where they stand and where you stand, and how different personalities, and different interests, kind of coincide with the work that they do. But like practically, I think I picked up like most of my skills. Most of my valuable lessons have come through just being around a photographer who's just working.
You asked me to help you put up I asked you to ask me, put up a light box the other day. And I could have worked it out, but you showed me the little trick that you put it together with, and you said, okay, put this there, and I noticed this, I put a little lip here, and I was thinking about it afterwards. I spoke to Bonnie about it for about an hour. I was saying, isn't that amazing that it's just a light box? It's just a simple setup. And yet E.G. had a system, he had a plan, he had reasoning for why he did certain things. And I could have put up 1,000 light boxes and never figured that out. And yet in one conversation, in 20 minutes or 10 minutes, however long it took, I just got the benefits of probably years of you figuring that out, or years of someone else figuring it out and telling you. And I just got the shortcut on how to do that thing. And it was so simple and so basic. A child could do it. And yet, that is such important information.
Oh, that's a very interesting perspective that you had on that situation. I appreciate how positive you see it. But like for me, it was just like a happy accident. I just noticed something like, in a shoot in the past, and I was like, oh, this is good. I kind of like this. So.
But how many times did you put up light boxes before you came across that accident? Probably hundreds, right?
No. This is something that I stumbled on in school. So the school had like these like a bunch of studios. They had like 9 studios fully equipped in the basement. And one of the year you were meant to have they have a kindergarten close by. Everyone gets assigned a kid, and everyone's meant to do like a portrait of that kid.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And just like because you're dealing with a person, you're not, you don't have as much time or energy to like do the technical things, the theoretical things the right way. So I had I accidentally had the light pointing, not exactly like I would have wanted it pointed, but like I noticed there was like the lighting was a little like different compared to after I noticed it and changed it. So I like, oh no, I changed it back into that like where the light was not pointing at the kid, it was like pointing in front of the kid. And I noticed this like, that's where I picked it up. I had maybe been doing photography for, 2 or 3 years at that point.
That little piece of knowledge is just an example of probably hundreds and thousands pieces of little bits of knowledge that make it go from someone pointing an iPhone to someone producing a beautiful piece of art. It's just little additions of that. And so someone can watch a YouTube video and figure out shutter, ISO, white balance in an hour, maybe. It's not incredible. I mean, some of it is technical, but to learn how it functions, not that difficult.
No.
But years and years and years of practice and figuring out these little tricks upon tricks upon tricks. And when you break the rules and what the rules are and when you break them and all of that is invaluable. So I love the idea of mentorship. I haven't always been good at it in terms of receiving it. I've been mentored a lot by books and some other things, but I think it's a powerful thing.
I mean, real life experience is a kind of mentorship.
True.
And
not always a good mentor, but it is a mentorship.
It can be very harsh.
Yeah.
But like, you've started out so many new different ventures and things. And like through that, like we were talking about earlier, through that you've learned stuff that you've applied like on different areas.
Yeah.
And that's really valuable.
To the point now where we could get some random encounter, some business service that we are the receivers of. And I can look at that business and go, I don't understand their specific product or service, but I know I could beat them in their business. Not because of their product or service, but because of all the peripherals that support that product. I just know I could demolish them in business. And if I just learned the skill that they have, and it's not like I'm cheapening that skill, but I know all that other stuff is so important. And I think that's, you just get that from just, time in the saddle, just experience, just
like how you frame the service or just how you set it up, the setup of it.
Yes.
And that's like, by the way, again, like, thank you so much for helping. I'm really bad at that. I think I'm going to really benefit a lot from being around you. Just by that conversation yesterday, that was spectacularly helpful for me.
It's good to be in an environment where you're bouncing things off with peers and playing with different ideas. Even if you disagree, you know why you disagree. It's very helpful. Like one example would be you walk into a car mechanic. Like, I don't know the first thing of how to fix a carburetor or even what a carburetor does. I don't know all of that stuff. But when you walk into a car mechanic and the garage is clean and he's going to look you in the eye and shake your hand and say, hey, what's the problem? And then he fills out a piece of paper with a picture on a car and it's like, okay, here's a problem. We'll check this. We'll check this. We'll check this. He hasn't touched the car yet. But the fact that he's got some pricing structure and the equivalent of a menu, so it's not just, he's just pulling out of thin air. He's got some process and some business going on. Is so much more beneficial than the guy down the road who is smoking a cigarette when you walk in, doesn't greet you, tells you he'll get back to you and he doesn't.
Right.
So you have to phone him. We're not talking about fixing the car at all. Like, we haven't touched the car yet. It's just the peripherals. Mm-hmm. It makes a huge, huge difference.
It does.
And so I think mentorship can teach you some of that. And that's why it's good to have different mentors, because some people are skilled in different areas.
Right.
But when you learn something at school, I always used to hate school and think school was useless, and I'm partly right. But there's things you learn at school that might not directly apply to a career, but it'll apply to the peripherals, especially in social circumstances.
Most definitely. And I'm not, I want to be clear, I'm not devaluing my school experience. I 100% would have gone to school and did the things that I did. I don't regret it at all. I'm just saying that in this particular field, also maybe because it's so unstructured, it's not like so many other fields. Experience was particularly and actually it was built into the schooling program, now that I think about it, because I'm not sure we talked about it in the podcast, but we talked about it like off mic, that you had to have a mentorship in order to be able to get into that school. So they had built it into the program. You have to, and also you would spend 3 months in school, 9 months in mentorship. They would have like long periods of time where you had to be employed by a photographer.
Wow.
Otherwise, if you lost that mentorship, you couldn't continue. You had to find a new one. And that's also like a really good regulatory system for the market to not overproduce people in a certain field.
Right.
I thought it was really smart.
That's very clever.
I didn't really pick up on that at the time, but like now after the fact, this is like, wow, that's a really clever system for the market and for the students.
Yeah.
How do you feel like we've been doing so far? I feel like, I've been a little bit less energetic. I'm a little bit worn down from all the work from the past few weeks. But I feel like, you've been doing great. You've been like, very expressive and...
Dude, we've had such a great conversation. Genuinely, I've been genuinely interested, because I'm never normally interested in what you say. I've been genuinely interested in some of the concepts that you've talked about. It's very thought-provoking.
No, I mean, same for you. You come at it like from such a different angle compared to me. You have so much more structure in the way of think of things. Just that mechanic thing. Like I might be that like guy that doesn't send an email until like 3 days later. I really need to manage my business better. I really do.
I'm an awful manager. I'm terrible. But one thing I try and focus on is the customer and the customer's perspective and how do they see things. And so I will recognize from an experience as a customer, usually, I'll recognize what's important, but then I don't always implement it myself. But I have people around me who are much better at management who do implement things. And so I'll say, like something that I think is very important, we'll never have a customer care department, no matter how big we get, because people start to develop a mindset that, oh, we'll leave that to customer care. And customer care then just handle complaints, but they actually have no power to solve anything. So my perspective is, if you've got a company that cares about the customer, which you should, because that's who's paying you, you should never have a customer care department. Everyone should care about the customer, from the receptionist to the accountant to the CEO to the sales guy. Everyone should be caring about the customer.
Right.
And I think a lot of companies outsource that to some other department because they genuinely don't care about the customer.
Right.
They care about their little narrow thing that they do, whether it be sales or HR or whatever. Everyone should care. So how to implement those things, I don't always know. But in terms of a culture and an idea, my brain and my eyes are tuned to that. I can't walk into a shop without noticing certain things, which is irritating because I also notice all the things wrong with us. So I've got to learn to temper that. But
what's an interesting example of you going into a store and you notice something that like could be done differently or done better? Like, that's very interesting to hear.
The doormat. Is the window clean? Are the shelves aligned? Do they have the boxes that they just unpacked out?
Order.
Those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Is the pricing clear?
Right.
The way that the shop assistant or manager, whoever's there, do they greet you? Do they look at you? Do they greet you in 7-Eleven? Fiongola, it's like they're just saying it. Or is it a genuine caring greeting?
Right.
Do they have the emotional intelligence to approach you knowing that you need help, or to leave you alone knowing that you're just browsing?
Right.
Those sort of things. Do they put the change in your hand on top of the receipt, or do they put the change first and then the receipt?
Mm-hmm.
That seems so petty, but if you care about the customer, you want the change in their hand first,
right,
so they can put that in their wallet or their pocket, and then the receipt's easy, or do you have to move the receipt out? Little details like that. Do they make you wait? Do they take the phone call over the customer that's already there?
Right. And I mean, when you're also just working with especially even more complicated service provider, if the simple things or the things on the surface are in order or crisp and like in everything, they do that well.
Yes.
Then you can almost kind of automatically trust that the things that you don't understand, like why you're reaching to them, they are also in order. How you do how you do small things is how you do everything.
I like that.
Right?
I like that.
You can see just by someone doing like some random tiny thing, just simple things. You can see how they handle that, how they're going to handle like a bunch of other stuff. I think you can learn a lot from people, from small stuff, I think.
When I was waitering, I waited for maybe 2 years. I should not have got that job. It was a very high-class job. It was silver service, which is like fancy spoons and forks, and the way that you served the customer was very high level. And I knew nothing. I'd never even been in a bar or anything to pour pints, or I didn't know the basics. But I had a friend who hooked me up, And I made sure, because I knew I was out of place, I knew I didn't have the skills, I made sure I was the most attentive, switched on, in a present person that I could be. I just tried my best. And I would annoy my supervisors because I'd stand next to them and say, okay, what do we do next? What are we doing next? Whilst other people were just sort of waiting around, I was always saying, like, how can I improve?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my pet peeves is when people get into a job or they get into an opportunity and they don't put every ounce of energy into, and I'm not talking about like just erratic running around to make yourself look busy. I'm talking about like an intentional effort to do things well.
Mm-hmm.
So even putting down a cup in front of someone, do you make it their job to receive the cup from you, or do you just place it down in front of them so that they know it's there but you don't bother them? Even that little thing for me is so important. And I hate, like, one of my biggest hates in terms of just how people operate normally is when people go, well, I tried, well, I did it, and like they just do good enough. It's never like excellent. They don't put their passion and their heart behind it.
Right.
And I'm not talking about perfection. I'm just talking about your intensity in terms of the attempt.
Putting in a genuine effort.
Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right. And I highly value people who are trying to learn, trying to go, trying to apply lessons, trying to ask, like put themselves in a place of humility to say, hey, how do you do this? Why did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from? Or even just shut up and just watch and like learn tricks and things. It's an incredible skill set. And I think if you don't apply that on the small things, you're not going to apply those on the big important things. And the big important things are just made up of 100 small things.
Absolutely, 100%.
So if you think someday you're going to get to the big opportunity and you're going to make it, it's not true. That big opportunity is made up of all the little things
It's accumulated.
that you did.
It's accumulation.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I heard Jordan Peterson, again, talk about a Derrida quote, which I don't know anything about Derrida, but he said, people don't see God because they don't look low enough. And it's such a strange quote, but people don't see the greatness or the bigness of something, the magnificence of something, not because their eyes aren't high enough, it's because their eyes aren't low enough. They're not looking at the small things, the little details. That makes up the bigger picture. And so I've always, when I first heard that, I thought that's so powerful. The way that you wash a dish is going to affect what the dinner table looks like.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to affect how you cook the turkey. It's going to
Right.
affect the friends coming over and enjoying that meal.
Mm-hmm.
And people so often think the turkey is the thing that's important, but the dish is dirty. Just wash the dish better.
Right.
So I think that's incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. I hate it when people go, well, I tried. I did it. I'm like, what? No, put your heart and soul into it. Try better.
But it's I think, I don't know why some people, it could be cultural, could be just like the individual or something, but like some people genuinely are doing something that they don't want to do. They're just looking to tick a box. Like, here's something that I need to do, and they approach it exactly like that. They're just like, I need to do that. And they just do it half-heartedly.
I get it, and there's some things in my life a lot of things I don't want to do that I just do to tick the box. But then I try and play a game with myself and think, okay, well, I don't want to do this. Let me get this done quickly, or let me get this done well enough so it's easier for my next time. So like if I ever work on spreadsheets and I can just add up 3 columns, I know next time it might be 50 columns. So I go and learn, how do I do the formula that adds it up for me? Even though it might take me longer, I know next time it's going to save me. And so some people don't have that mindset of, it's difficult, I don't like it, I don't actually sometimes see the value of it, but I'm going to try my best. And I think it hurts people. I think in the long run, it really hurts you, and it keeps you, like, I used to feel sorry. No, I can't say that. I'm going to say it anyway. I used to feel sorry for people who would have crappy jobs, and I'd feel really, really bad for them. And my brother said to me, I won't tell you which brother, but he said to me, Sean, why do you feel sorry for them? I said, well, they're doing a crappy job. He says, do you ever think that some people, not everyone, but some people end up in a crappy job because they don't work hard? because they don't care, because they didn't learn how to grow and adapt and be flexible and just put some effort in. Maybe that's why they're doing a crappy job. I'm like, I don't think it's always true, but I think there is a truth there that some people are in the position that they're in, not because they don't have an opportunity. It's because they didn't apply themselves in the opportunity.
Right.
And I know certainly I've been in that position, but I'm trying, at least consciously, to go, if I'm going to put my hand to my shoulder to the plow in this regard, I'm going to push as hard as I can.
Right.
I'm not going to half-ass it, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm doing it, and I'm not.
But I think just some people, maybe for whatever reason, they feel like things haven't worked out because this, that, or the other. Maybe they don't have a lot of faith in themselves. They just like everything is just another opportunity or another chance for life to beat them down.
Wow.
And they have just like a disposition to life that is like negative. And I think that's really can seep into every aspect. It's just like, oh, another customer. Oh, another thing that I have to deal with. Instead of just being like, here's
another customer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a different perspective, right? And I think just for whatever reason, sometimes life just can beat people down.
You are so nice, EG. You are right. I'm the horrible. I'm horrible there, but
no. But there are people with great opportunities and abilities that still don't apply themselves. You are absolutely right too.
No, but maybe the reason they're not applying themselves, they don't have the confidence. They haven't seen it that way. I get that. I've been very blessed with parents and friends that have not beaten me down, that have always encouraged me, and so maybe I've never seen that side of it. Maybe people aren't applying themselves because they've never had anyone encourage them to do that. That's a good perspective. A good perspective.
I think, maybe, I'm not sure what the environment in South Africa is, but in Iceland, it's, everyone goes through the same schooling system. There's no international schools.
Right.
Everyone starts at the same spot. But I feel like maybe in different countries, you just get born in a neighborhood or to a family that just can't provide you with those opportunities that others like get born into. And I think that can really color your journey through life, like significantly. Some people can overstep it. Some people like thrive in having that pushback on them, and they're going to make it no matter what. But some people aren't that strong. It's just life seems so unfair sometimes. And it is. It sometimes is.
No, you're right. No, I never thought about it quite in those terms. That's a very important point.
But I'm not right, and you have I don't want to make you think of it in a different way. I think you have a healthy perspective.
It's a good point. I think these are different influences, and it's not that one is right and one is wrong.
No. Yeah.
It's just that there are options and there are influences. There are forces there, and sometimes this force is more powerful, and sometimes that force is more powerful. Right. It doesn't absolve the other one,
right?
But the outcome could be different depending on those forces. I work with some people, and they'll say, "How do I do this?" And do it like that, and they'll be like, "Well, I'm not sure. How do I do this thing to be able to do it?" I'm like, "Well, Google it, figure it out." And so my mindset has always been the information is freely, literally free. Go and find that out. But some people haven't been brought up with that mindset, so they don't even think, how can I Google it? And I'd be like, I'll get my phone out, I'll press the button, the Hello Google button, I'll be like, how do I, and I'll show them, and then they'll start to go, okay, this is how I access information. So sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge or encouragement or not knowing that they have access.
Right.
But there's more people in Africa who have access to a mobile phone than have access to water. Wow. So people have access to information. They just don't always know that they have access to information.
And that can also almost turn into a problem because you have access to all of the information.
Maybe. Yeah.
And how good are you at curating that?
Yeah.
What does your mental diet look like? What are you putting into your head?
Good point.
And that's probably going to be the biggest element in people's success like in the future, because I feel like the schooling system in the US has become like crazy expensive, and some people have invested a huge amount into an education, and then all they get out of it is a massive student debt. But it pans out for a lot of people. But like, you know, in theory, it's almost like, it looks like you have an opportunity to be around a bunch of other like-minded people who also have the opportunity to take that loan, and then you can, it's like a club.
Right.
It feels like.
Right.
But I think I'm speaking out of school because I don't understand that. I haven't, that's not the system. I'm brought up in Scandinavia, where everything is just like, everyone is in the same pool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know too much about the American system. I know that there's huge disparity, and it could be in the same city, and you've got hugely different options.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't speak to that much. Hong Kong, we've got a great education system, maybe too good in terms of pressure and expectation, and that can really crush kids too. So,
there's a huge expectation, right?
Yeah, I think I said it before. I think we've got the highest or the second highest suicide rate of students in the world, but just because of that expectation. Also, culturally, there's a huge expectation. And I feel like when you've got that huge expectation on you, you're more afraid to experiment, because failure is really punished. And so this is why I think some people end up, as you say, beaten down. They go, okay, I'm just going to try in this particular lane because at least I can survive in this lane. I'm not going to get beaten up by it, which is another element to think about.
Right, like no risk taking.
Yep.
We only operate in absolutes, and this is the way it's done. This is the way it's always been done, and we're doing it this way, and there's no other way.
Yep. And if someone suggests another way, cannot, there's almost like a fear to trying to color outside of the lines.
Right.
Because that's the unknown, and that's looked down upon. Yeah.
If you're operating a business, and if you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, you almost sometimes want to have, it's like manufacturing. You want as little deviation as possible. You want everything to conform to the same. And I mean, to a certain degree, that's a good thing. But it doesn't feel, it's not great for the individual.
I think some people love it. I disagree with it. I would hate it, but I think some people love just doing the same thing the same way.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
I couldn't do it. I worked in a big bank. I didn't last 9 months. I was like, hey, let me get out of here. I hated it. But some people just seem to be able to, I think they can turn their brain off and just go on autopilot. And for some people, that's great. And I'm not even judging them. Fair enough.
Maybe the pay is really good. You can like override a lot of stuff with the good pay, right?
Yeah, it's true. And it's the very thing that you and I are trying to chase to make sure we can play. But I couldn't do that. How do you feel the podcast has gone?
Good. And you?
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
I've genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I almost feel like we should try to not talk too much off mic, because we had so many interesting conversations also off mic.
Yes. Yeah, we should have a film crew just follow us, documentary crew.
Everything we're saying is gold, constant gold. Yeah. We're robbing the universe of not having a mic on us.
How delusional are we? We think everything we say is valuable. No, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, E.G. I've enjoyed just the whole podcast journey, learning, growing, experimenting. I've learned a lot.
It's really rough for me to look at myself that much on camera and listen to myself that much, because, you know, the editing is unavoidable. but it is a true opportunity to better myself. That's how I see it. You are an excellent communicator, and you really help, I feel. But I feel like I need to. And I feel like this is helping me be a little bit more structured.
Have you, in your own perception, have you felt like you've improved or changed some things or been aware of things?
I think I've mostly just become more aware of things. I don't think I've necessarily changed that much yet, but the first step of solving a problem is being aware of a problem. So I think it has helped me in that way. It really has.
I think often just becoming aware, just in itself, is the solution.
How about for you? Have you taken anything from, you've done a bunch of podcasts before, so this is not as new for you as it is for me.
Yeah, we did, for the other channel, we did, I think, 16, and I was in, I think, most of them. And when I first started doing it, I noticed like a lot of things. I mean, I'm not perfect on it, but I certainly stopped a lot of that stuff. The other thing I like to do in just general conversation is I like to respond. I like to be part of. So if you made a comment, I'm going to go, yeah, oh, that's cool. Oh, so I'm not trying to distract, but I'm trying to encourage whatever you're saying. But for a podcast, it's irritating because you're trying to make a point, and then I'm speaking over it, and I think it's distracting. So when I first started doing it, I looked at it, I thought, oh, that's awful. Try and just shut up. Try and nod silently, which I don't always do well, but I think that's one of the things that I noticed. And then, you just ought to also notice your own fat face and fat tongue, and but you sort of get null to that embarrassment. You sort of get used to it, I think.
That is a huge thing about this thing for me. I absolutely agree. Just get used to who you are and just accept who you are.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it is. Like, there's no need for you to torment yourself or berate yourself. Yeah. This is just what it is.
It's what other people have to look at and hear every day.
Maybe you'll have more sympathy for your friends.
Yeah, exactly. You have to listen to me. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen kids hear themselves. Like, I remember being 6 or 7, and I remember a friend seeing a video of himself and like shocked. Is that what I look like? Is that what I sound like? Yeah, and him running away. And I remember thinking, that's interesting. He looked on the video exactly the same that we can all see him, but he hasn't seen himself like that. And I just think you've got to get used to it. Even the way that you sound to yourself is different to the way that it sounds to other people because of your bones and ears and all the rest. But I think I'm embarrassing to look at, and I've just got used to the embarrassment now.
I think successful people are very, very self-critical and harsh. I don't think you get better unless you are that. But I think, having cameras and mics helps you have a little bit of a healthier perspective on yourself, doesn't it?
Maybe.
You're not convinced.
No, I think you have to be critical, and I think gives you the opportunity to learn from it. I find I change. The second we put the camera on, I find my tone changes just slightly, and my brain goes into a different gear. It just becomes aware, which I don't think is bad. It's just different.
No, I think you're right. And I'm trying to be as much myself as I can, but this does change things. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Do you think it's in a good way or like in a bad way?
I think if we were just having a normal conversation and we were secretly recorded, I don't think it would be. Maybe it would be more interesting. Maybe a bit less filtered. Maybe a little less contrived's the wrong word, but
more genuine.
Yeah. Because I'm not saying that we're not being genuine. We are being genuine, but it's more structured. And I think if we were secretly recorded, it would be more interesting because it would flow more naturally, but it could be less interesting because conversations are clumsy.
They can be, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also like this as an exercise of, I don't want to talk about people in a way where it would be hurtful for them if they heard about that. So I try to sometimes imagine when I'm talking about someone, you want to be accurate, you want to be truthful, you want to say things, you don't want to lie. Right. But you can package the information in a way that it's accurate, but not like unnecessarily, we all maybe sometimes say things that we wouldn't say in front of other people. Right. I want to try to negate that from myself. I want to try to be, if I'm talking about Sean in front of someone else, I would ideally like you to hear that and you'll be fine with it. That's I think this really helps me with that goal,
right,
personally.
Okay.
Just being more just through and through consistently me.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not going to tell the camera how many friends you swear about, and no. No, I think it's good. I think it's good to just be authentic as much as possible all the time. So, but I've enjoyed it. So thank you, E.G.
Yeah, same. It's I've never had anyone to have a podcast with before, but I've had like ideas about doing it, but never actually done anything. So I'm very, very happy that this is happening.
I'd love to see you and Helga do a podcast.
Helga would never do one.
She would never do it.
She's very, very uncomfortable with mics and cameras and how she sounds and stuff.
What about playing Minecraft and having a webcam?
We're doing that, like we did screen recording of like the maze that we did with her niece.
Okay.
So she's thinking about now showing it to her niece.
Okay.
And like talking about the journey and having a video of her showing the video of her going through it and talking about it. Okay. So she's open to it, but she's not interested in herself in that regard. It's all about her niece.
Okay.
I kind of connect with that, but yeah. How about Bunny? Has she any experience with? You did a podcast together.
Yeah, we've done a few.
How does she feel about like this, having mics and cameras and stuff?
She's okay. She's got her own YouTube channel at the moment. She does music and singing, and she's trying to use it as an outlet to be creative, to not force herself, but to have some sort of structure around producing more music. Because I think that's what she would just love to do. Just do that. But when it comes to the podcast, I think it's usually me who initiates and sets it up and gets going. Not that she has no involvement. It's just I'm driving it. And then I'm kicking her under the table, and I'm going, "Come on, Bonnie!" So it's usually me who's doing it. But she's pretty good. She enjoys aspects of it.
I've seen her YouTube channel. I really like her music, but also she did like one video when she was just speaking. I thought that was very interesting. I found her perspectives very intriguing.
Yeah.
She's just being true. You could like really hear that, like it wasn't scripted. It wasn't like, she was just like being genuine. And that, I think everyone connects with that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, she's just trying to be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be very hard for Bunny to be fake. Yeah, she's just straightforward. What you see is what you get.
That's a fantastic ability to have. And not a lot of people can do that.
What are you trying to say? Yeah, it's a strange thing. But I'm enjoying it. Growing and learning.
Should we call it?
Let's do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Almost 2 hours.
Dude, that went so quickly.